Hello there, Rockies fans, and welcome to the Rockies Now podcast. It is episode 75 of the podcast. My name is Steven. Right with me is my co host Tom and Adam to my right. Um, it's that time of year again where we can be excited for baseball. Today we're going to do some outfield preview for some of the Rockies players where we break down who's got the power, who's got the speed, and who's got the best chance of making us yell at our TVs every single night this year. So let's have fun tonight. And there's going to be two options this year, right? We're going to be yelling at our TV, or we're going to be purchasing playoff tickets in October. So one of those two things will happen this year. So let's talk about the outfielders tonight. It's going to be a shorter episode, kind of like last week, and these are episodes that we really enjoy over here at Rockies Now. So to start everything off, this has been an area that I think a lot of us are super excited about. Of course, we feel pretty confident in center field and left field and all that, and even right field. But let's talk about some of the players and some maybe kind of like what we did last week, NRIs that might be able to maybe squeak the roster a little bit, come the season. So if we want to start off from right field to left, let's do that. So right field, Fangraphs has Sam Hilliard starting in right field for the Rockies. And I don't know, I don't really agree with that. Sam Hilliard, as we've talked many times before, he is very much a bench utility player. That's his ceiling. I don't get why they have him in right field when you have Jordan Beck, who has a much higher ceiling, who is, I think, much more prepared for a breakout year this year. And we're going to do some projections later on in the next few weeks before the season starts for different players. But I think for me, at least, I'm going to go with Jordan Beck in right field, just based off of what he was able to do last year near the end of the season, where he improved. While he did strike out quite a bit, we saw some improvements, and of course, his defense is not as bad as what people may think. And I think Jordan Beck will definitely be a decent outfielder in his future. So why don't we see what you guys have in right field for the Rockies? So I'm going to go off with Adam here to go to right field.
Spoiler alert, it's not Sam Hilliard. That's I think that's just a casual take from somebody who doesn't pay attention to the Rockies. No offense, but I agree with you, Steve. It's going to be Jordan Beck. I mean, this guy, they called him up last year for a reason. He has a very high ceiling, very talented player, has a chance to be a 2020 guy if he can stay healthy. I really would be disappointed in the Rockies if they went any other direction than Jordan Beck. And of course, there's other guys that we'll see throughout the season in the outfield that I'm sure we're going to get into tonight. But my starting right fielder on opening day is Jordan Beck. Tom?
Hey, you muted, Tom.
No, no, I just had to.
Oh, there you go.
Had to come back to the screen. Well, to comment on what Fangraphs said, I think they win it unless how I see those rosters put together is of course they're not put together by fans of any particular team. Unless there's a set player who they know for a fact is going to be at that position, they just go based off experience. That's why the Rockies don't have any for sure set right fielders. That's why they have Sam Hilliard. But Sam, he had a very solid year last year in the time that he played with the Rockies. It's good to have him back. It is always good to have a guy who has power and still some speed left in his legs on the bench. So that's where Sam Hilliard for me is the fourth outfielder, but Jordan Beck, of course, I'm not going to disagree with anyone. He'll be in right field. He will most likely be batting ninth to start the season in the lineup. And for Jordan Beck, I have him as my dark horse candidate on this team to keep an eye on. I just think there's not going to be a ton of eyes on him. Most eyes are going to be on the two guys playing to his right. To different degrees, of course. One trying to come back from injury, the other trying to remain an elite play, reach the elite level status. We'll talk about them in a minute. But for Jordan Beck, again, Tennessee Volunteer. Rockies have a good history with Vols. So I think he has more to offer the Rockies than people give him credit for. He was fantastic in his time at Albuquerque. That doesn't say much. That doesn't always translate to the majors, but I think he could be a solid. He's got good power. The ability to get on base and make probably not hit for over or seriously high average, but a respectable average. And then, of course, I think he has underrated defensive skills. I think he'll be a good fit in right field for us on opening day. And hopefully, like I said, he'll prove he's got some staying power here for the Rockies going forward.
Steven, I'd like to say one other thing here. I'm looking at the fan graphs here.
Did they fix it?
Yeah, Jordan Beck's in right field, but Chris Bryant is hitting fourth, and on no planet is that going to happen this year. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That could be based on career pedigree.
Yeah, well, I just pulled it up on Fangraphs, and last week I think when we were recording our pitchers and catchers, they had previously Sam Hilliard, but they fixed it. So, but yeah, if you want to check out our projected opening day lineup, it's a little bit better than this one. That's for sure. Originally we were kind of thinking about Tovar being batting leadoff, and it was a close call, but we'll see what happens. But I do like Doyle leading off there, Tovar at second, and again we'll get to to all the lineup outcomes once we get to our season preview. But yeah, I don't think Bryant's going to be hitting fourth. DH, yes, but I don't think so. I think Bryant will definitely be either 6 or 7 and below. There's no way he's getting above 6. So anyways, yeah, Jordan Becken's right field. And of course, we'll talk about some sleeper players that could be in right field. And one of them is a pretty high prospect for the Rockies. And again, we'll get to that in a second. Center field, no questions asked. It's going to be Britton Doyle, second year, won a Gold Glove. This will be his third season. Of course, really this will be his second full season. Last year was his first full season. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2019. Excuse me. Yeah. What year was he drafted? Yeah, 2019. 2019, 4th round, 19th pick, and the 129th pick of the 4th round overall. And right now they're projecting him to be right around a 3 WAR player, which is pretty solid. Strikeout rate, a lot of people are predicting to go down. I think that's going to happen. This year, I think could be a really big year. Of course, there's a lot of concerns. So is he going to regress this year? Is he going to fall off a bit? I think if there is, it's going to be very small. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But I think we're going to see another good year for Britton Doyle. And of course, defensively, we already know how good he is. So we're going to see another fun year for Britton Doyle. So, Adam, do you have Doyle in the center field? That's a question.
I actually had Chris Bryant in center field, but I didn't want to spoil it for the rest of the fans. No, obviously, Britton Doyle, I'm a little bit too hyped probably, but I think he has a chance to be the best center fielder in the league this season. Mm-hmm. If he can continue on his upward trajectory offensively. Like you said, we already know what the defense looks like. And you have to have that kind of a defensive center fielder at Coors Field. And he's the perfect guy for the Rockies. And also, if you're listening, Rockies, please lock him up. And that's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not sure what his plans are, if he wants to continue through arbitration and go to free and test toward free agency, or if he's interested in signing an extension. We'll have to wait and see. That's up to him. If Britton Doyle wants to continue through arbitration, there's nothing. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to sound like a downer here, but there's nothing we can do about it. We can't force him to put pen to paper. So
I think the Rockies will do what they did with Tovar if he's interested.
I would hope it, but I would hope so. But we'll have to wait and see. Britton Doyle. I mean, we're looking at him. Well, now that Mike Trout is no longer going to be playing center field, the avenue is open for somebody to become the new top center field overall in baseball. And Britton Doyle has the skills to do that. Again, he's a back-to-back Gold Glove, where he plays half his seasons in the most difficult center field in professional baseball. He's now sliding into kind of a Charlie Blackmon fit, playing center field and batting leadoff. So, but the only thing is Britton Doyle is much faster than Charlie Blackmon. So again, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him make his first All-Star appearance this year, moving into that elite, toward that label of elite level player in that category. And as far as backups go, I can see, of course, Hilliard being his back. If for whatever reason his legs need some rest, I see Sam Hilliard. Maybe even Jordan Beck, pending the availability, taking that one start here or there at center field. But Britton Doyle, it's a lock. He's going to be our center fielder roaming out there for us. And
Yeah,
betting and most, and we'll go over the previews, but most likely betting me off. That'd be nice too.
yeah.
That'd be
It
awesome
just
for him.
it's crazy though. Just looking back at the replays, yeah, I was watching some Brenton Doyle highlights the other day on YouTube, and it's just insane how this guy just gets off. He reads the ball so well. Probably the best in baseball. Just and not to mention playing the largest outfield in baseball next to Kauffman Stadium. Um, Doyle rules, man. That's all we can say, man. And the guy, he is going to be awesome to watch. And this guy, again, this guy wasn't a first or second round pick. This was more of a later round, again, fourth round. And generally, you can find really good players in there. And I don't feel like he was talked about enough. Once he got into AA, there was some talk about Doyle being a Gold Glove center fielder, but offensively, he was not great. And to where now we're starting to see him come into that guy that we've been hoping to see, and even more of that, right? I mean, last year we had the breakout year. He was the MVP for this Rockies team, and um, you know, 20 plus home runs, right? And stolen bases galore, right? And we're going to see that go up. And are we going to see a 30-30 season? I think we could. I really do believe we could if he can stay healthy and perform well and not have much as minor setbacks or anything like that. I think we're in for a big year for Mr. Doyle. So
I was gonna say that, Steven. A
yeah,
lot of the projections are 21 to 23 home runs. Give me the over all
hammer it.
day. I think the Rockies' offense is going to be much better than it has been in the last few seasons. They're going to be very dangerous at the top of that lineup, and I think he's
Mhm.
going to produce a lot for the Rockies.
hmm And speaking of power in this Rockies lineup, there's a guy that we really need to have a comeback here, and that's in left field for Nolan Jones. I have him as the left fielder for the Rockies. Um, a little bit, it reminds me of a guy that he was in competition for 2023 for the Rookie of the Year voting, James Outman, who had a really bad year. I don't think he played much at all for the Dodgers. Of course, the Dodgers, they're already stacked with the players that they already have, but he was really bad last year. Played most of his games in AAA for the Dodgers in Oklahoma City. Um, and these two players kind of they were similar in 2023, but in my opinion, Nolan Jones was better. I don't get why he was third. When I'm talking third, I'm talking Outman. I feel like Nolan Jones definitely deserved that third place spot. But regardless, I feel like Nolan Jones is due for a bounce back year, and I think we're going to see it. Maybe not as much as what we saw in 2023 Nolan Jones, but I think we're going to see a 260, 270 type of season for Nolan. I think we're going to see 20 plus home runs this year if he can stay healthy. Right now, Fangraphs projects him to be a 1.5 win player. I'm going over on that, maybe a 2, maybe even a 3 win player. And right now they're looking at a projected 777 OPS for Nolan. I'm also going to go slightly over on that. I think arguably this guy, after the 2023 season, we thought, hey, maybe this guy is going to be our future star here. And I think we can definitely see that Nolan Jones is just last year was just everything on top of everything. First, it was the injury, but even before that, I think he was just pressured because of the media and even some of the fans. They were putting this guy on the pedestal of like, hey, you're going to save our franchise. And for a young player like Nolan Jones, who just had his rookie year, that's a lot. So I really do believe that Nolan Jones is going to be a little bit more comfortable now. Now he knows what it's like to have one of those type of years, and it happens in baseball. So I'm projecting for Nolan to have a big year, bounce back. And of course, we already know his arm is elite in terms of outfield strength and UZR for those defensive metric fans out there. His defensive WAR is really, really darn good. So Nolan Jones is my starting left fielder. So, Adam, who do you got?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one, and I don't think Tom will either. I expect big things out of Nolan Jones this year, but not because of his season. I think last year there was a lot of stuff going on. Like you mentioned, he probably felt a lot of pressure to carry the offense. He probably was reading the clippings a little too much and saying, this guy's the next best, whatever. But I think this year, if you add on the fact that he's no longer injured, and you can see it at camp too, right? You can see in the Instagram videos that he's making, he's loose again. And I feel like from afar, at least, it looked like he kind of lost that a little bit last year. having very much fun. I think he put too much pressure on himself, and the injury didn't help. So I think with a better lineup surrounding him this year, with an improved Brenton Doyle, he knows that Brenton Doyle's improved. He doesn't have to carry the outfield offensively. He knows what he has in McMahon and Tovar. I think this guy is the catalyst to the entire offense, in my opinion, in 2025. And I don't think he's going to disappoint. If I'm looking correctly at his projections on Fangraphs, it's 16 home runs. I'll take the over on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I will almost double that. And I might be a little bit too high on this Rockies team, but things are starting to turn around, in my opinion. I think they're going in the right direction. And it starts with Nolan Jones, Brenton Doyle, and Zeke Tovar. I think those guys are going to be awesome this year. And I mean, Nolan Jones, only 26 years old, right? So he's still right in the prime of his career. And I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I think we saw a small snippet of it in 2023, but I think he's going to be outstanding this year. So yes, give me him in left field.
Well, when you have a player, regardless of age, who is suffering through an injury that hinders their swing, they will do things to overcompensate and alleviate the soreness or pain that they're feeling, and unfortunately that leads to their stats or their performance on offense to suffer, and even defensively. So when you're dealing with a back or a sore, I think he also had a sore hip that Nolan had. That's a kind of a Achilles heel for a position player. Especially for a guy who has strong heavy swing like Nolan. So to go ahead, Fangraphs has him at 16. Baseball Reference actually has him at 12, predicts 12 home runs and a 778 OPS. And also to go to James Outman, he only played 53 games for the Dodgers last year, and he had to the tune of a negative .4 WAR. So if you want to talk about, if we're comparing two guys here who are former Rookies of the Year together that are trying to make comebacks, James Outman's really on the one who's got the more eyes on him to make the comeback. Considering he plays higher and he plays for a more high-profile team. So yeah. Anywho, but even though he played 53 games, he's got a ring. So, but when it comes to Nolan, he arguably has got the best outfield arm in left fielder of all the left fielders in baseball. And one little quick tidbit: when I was at the game last year, when I got to see Nolan in left field, I was sitting in left field. Some jerk was making fun of his hairdo. I wanted to tell the guy to shut up. Seriously, just STFU, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
But then again, hecklers are annoying. But for Nolan,
Indeed.
I think he seems fine. He looks healthy. If he can put this behind him, there's no question he can put this behind him. And the truth of the matter is now, in the last 2 years, you've had Nolan had a breakout year 2 years ago. Doyle had a breakout year last year. If both of them can get to that level of the elite category, that takes the pressure off a lot of the lineup, including Jordan Beck. So he's just free to be himself. So when more than one guy succeeds, it allows the rest of the team just to kind of be themselves and play it together. So looking at the starting outfield, and of course, I'm not taking anything away from Sam Hillier, but we're in a good spot. You got two righties. Out of those four guys, you got two righties, two lefties. Nolan Jones is going to be in left field, and I'm looking forward to hoping he stays healthy, and hopefully we see a good outfield assist or two during the season.
I'm sorry, Tom. I just have to. 12 home runs. Are they projecting him to play like under 100 games or something?
No. Hold on, I have to do the math here, but it's 390. It's 342 at bats. So I have to do the math as to how much. They don't list the number of games. They actually only have him getting 18 doubles too.
That's ridiculous.
That's outstanding.
So if my math is right here, 342 at bats, that goes out to about, I'd say, just right around 100 games, which he played 106 in 2023. So that's probably what they're guessing. That's probably what where their math is coming from.
That would be roughly half the year of injuries. I disagree.
A little more than half the year, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get into our actual predictions for the team this year, and I'm probably going to say some outlandish things because I like this team. I really do. But that's just, I mean, come on, man.
Outlandish. Yeah.
Those numbers are just going off of what they know. They're going off. A lot of it is off pass. If I'm
Like this
understanding
last year.
well, like the past, it's off the past, but also kind of trying to predict the future using the past. So it's not an exact science. I mean, just like prospect development's not linear. Math isn't perfect when it comes to predicting a player's future
I look forward to
based on the past. I mean, he played 106 games in 2023, and he played 79 games
70.
last year. So they're projecting he plays around 100 games this year, and then the rest is, I guess assuming injury.
I really believe he was playing through an injury last year, despite he
No,
came back.
was.
He was playing through an injury last year. There's no way.
all
I
year.
mean, all
No,
year.
no,
It wasn't
yeah.
just when he went on the IL. He played through an injury all last year, and players will do that, and they won't tell anybody. It's just because they want to play on the field, and I just feel like that was a result of it.
No, he was playing through a sore or slightly injured back is what he was going through. That's why they shut him down. They didn't want it to get worse because if
Got
the
the
back
Brian
gets
disease.
well, we don't. Well, we knock on wood. There, he doesn't turn into how bad Brian's is.
Yeah.
But
Well, I did see a clip where they were walking together for spring training. Hey, listen, we like to make fun of Chris Bryant, but we'll talk about about him here in a second. But yeah,
maybe he'll get a start in center field.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
No.
Well, that's for anybody for all the listeners and viewers, that's just a little tidbit off of a couple of years ago when he was at the All-Star game, and I think it was Harold Reynolds asked him, "Hey, what's your favorite position to play?" And he said
center field.
So.
Yeah. Hey, you can't take that now.
Maybe,
There's okay. So we already talked about a little bit about Sam Hilliard, who I think is going to be corner outfield, maybe in center field occasionally. He'll be an option on the bench for sure for the Rockies. That's a hard lock. Another outfield option. Now, this is on Fangraphs. I don't think he'll be on the opening day roster, in my opinion. I think he's going to be more for depth. And this goes back to last year, and it's more of a questionable move. It was a questionable move last year, and it still is to this day. This is probably one of the most interesting and maybe not so great Rockies moves in the last year or so, is when they traded Joe Rock for Greg Jones. And Greg Jones is right here on Fangraphs, is projected to be on the bench. I disagree with that. He's going to be in AAA, but Greg Jones at one point was a high prospect for the Rays. He was 22nd overall in 2019, same draft as Brenton Doyle. But Greg Jones just does not have the flame to be a great ball player, and no knock to Greg Jones. It's just I really still to this day, I'm really not too sure about that trade. Joe Rock, who has a very good chance of being on the opening day roster for the Rays, did struggle a little bit last year with Tampa, but again, he's going to be a great pitcher for them, which definitely hurts for us Rockies fans because, again, Joe Rock, last name Rock, Rockies, right? That kind of hurts. So I disagree. He'll be on the bench, but as of right now, Sam Hilliard is the only outfielder on the bench. I think that's pretty realistic for me. Zach Veen is a guy I would watch. Again, there's a lot of eyes going to be on him this the spring training, which tomorrow is the first spring training game. Looking forward to that. But the thing is, for us Rockies fans, like we talked last week, for catchers, for guys like Drew Romo and Aaron Schunk, we don't want those guys to be sitting on the bench all the time. And I thought I saw somewhere that Aaron Schunk is still on the team. He just is coming now as a non-roster invitee. So that's somewhat good news. I'm not 100% sure on that. There is a possibility he does get picked up by a team off waivers or whatever it's called. But yeah, same goes to Zach Veen. I'd rather see him get every day playing time in AAA rather than sitting on the bench. Next to Sam Hilliard. But for me, I would say I'm gonna go with Sam Hilliard as the bench outfielder, and I'm gonna leave it there. I don't think we're gonna see Zach Veen on the opening day roster quite yet, but I think we're gonna see him by May or June. I really, really do, if not sooner. Maybe even sometime in April. I don't know if there's an injury or just Sam Hilliard just is not doing well whatsoever, or heck, let's just say Sam Hilliard has a horrible spring and Zach Veen is hits 300, 400. I could see Zach Veen definitely take that spot away from Hilliard and being the bench outfielder. But given where the Rockies are at, which I think they're doing a good job, is letting the young players get their playing time in AAA, like Romo and Zach Veen. So that's my thought. I'm curious to see what Adam thinks, and then, of course, Tom. So, Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Zach Bean fan, as you guys know. I don't see any way that he's on this roster on opening day unless there's an injury to Jordan Beck and Nolan Jones or Doyle and Jones, because either way, even if there's just one injury, the Rockies are going to put Hilliard in there because that's, that would be their next move. And then even then, you probably wouldn't want him as a fourth outfielder. You'd want him to be out getting reps at the lower levels, getting ready for his call up. So I say Sam Hilliard is going to be that fourth outfielder. I don't think Greg Jones. I don't want to discount him completely. He's still a Major League Baseball player. I hate to do that, but I don't see it either. Unfortunately, very likable guy, brings a lot of energy, that kind of stuff. I don't see much there, unfortunately. Some projections have Chris Bryant making some starts in the outfield. I don't really see that happening either. And he's going to be the DH anyway. So Hilliard seems to be the option there. But Bean is going to make his way up this year for sure, as long as he stays healthy. So, yeah, Hilliard for sure.
Yeah, the prospects everyone's going to get their eye on are Zach Bean and Yankiel Fernandez. So
There's another name to look up for.
I mean, of course, Bean shows up with the purple hairdo, so that's kind of a nice retro thing to look for him. So those are the two everyone's gonna keep an eye on. I personally am just gonna keep just peek in every now and then at Benny Montgomery, see how he's doing. He's the other big outfield or known outfield prospect that everyone's kind of that's on some people's radars. So we'll see how he does. But yeah, it's as far as that, we'll see if Bean maybe makes his debut this year. And going to options, here are the people who have options. Michael Toglia has one option left. Tovar and Doyle, just for funny little note, have two, but they're not getting optioned anytime soon. Jordan Beck actually has three. Also, Hunter Goodman has two left. Greg Jones has one. So most likely, with that being, Hilliard has zero. So most likely, if Hilliard's on the opening day roster, I don't think Greg Jones will, just in case they need to call him up and then option him back down for whatever reason. Maybe it's an injury reason or whatever. Of the pitchers, Ryan Feltner, of the starters, I say Ryan Feltner has two. All the others do not, or it's not applicable. And then going down to the relievers have several. Also, Hunter Goodman has two as well. So, so again, we could be seeing some starts from him in the corner outfield spots on days where he's not catching. We already predicted, of course, for those who didn't hear our last episode, we believe it's going to be Stallings Goodman as the catchers, with Drew Romo getting everyday starts down AAA, because Willie McIver sadly was DFA'd or not intended, excuse me, and is with the almost said Oakland, Sacramento A's. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, keep an eye on those guys, and like I said, Greg Jones is going to be the fifth, quote unquote, fifth, sixth outfield depth. Same goes to Sean Bouchard. It's crazy. He once again, the non-tenant right back. Yeah, that's it. In terms of the 40 man, those are the guys we're going to see. And, like I said, maybe it's a little ha-ha thing. If we don't see Chris Bryant make a start in center field, maybe he'll in a late game situation where, for whatever reason, he'll get plopped in there just for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Schmidt did say that there might be a few games if Beck or Jones is getting some rest in the outfield, that Bryant will be playing in the outfield position. And I listen, as much as that we firmly believe that he should be playing DH only to protect his body. I guess that we're okay with it. But either way, if Bryant does get injured again, hey, it gives the opportunity for a rookie to get some playing time. And again, kind of like Michael Toglia, it was a blessing in disguise. Really, it was a good thing for the Rockies that Bryant got injured. So again, not to hurt KB, but it was kind of like I said, blessing in disguise. But yeah, you mentioned Sean Bouchard, who a few years back, again, some OG Rockies Now fans might remember one of my first podcast episodes talking about Sean Bouchard, how I was high on him coming after the big ending of his 2022 campaign. He's reached his peak. I don't think he's going to be a guy that should be getting a lot of playing time. He is 28 years of age. I mean, he's still young. Again, hopefully he can somewhat show that he's got some stuff in him. But the Rockies have so many talented outfielders. I feel like he's overshadowed, but also just talent-wise, it's just not there. Like there's been some games, I don't know why. It's just late in the season he'll just get on a roll and just start playing well. I don't know why. It's the weirdest thing. I love Sean Bouchard, but yeah, as we have in our notes here, Tom points out that Bouchard is definitely a 4A player, kind of like Sam Hilliard. Sam Hilliard is a very much a 4A player, but in terms of defense, I would 100% have Hilliard over Bouchard. Bouchard's defense, in my opinion, is not as good as Hilliard, but again, not a knock on Sean, but yeah, again, another few names to mention, of course, Yankiel Fernandez, who Tom mentioned. Benny Montgomery, of course, is on there. And, of course, Nick Martini, who was recently signed to a non-roster deal. That's also an interesting one. I don't think, though, he's going to make the opening day roster whatsoever. I think it's just he's going to be a AAA player for the entire season unless if there's injuries. And Sterling Thompson, that's also a possibility. This guy had a really good career in Florida when he was in college. High draft pick. Very intrigued about this, and it could be even a trade piece for the Rockies. He is projected to start in AAA, so we'll see what happens there. So keep an eye on Sterling Thompson this spring. However, his ceiling I don't think is as high as Jordan Beck. Jordan Beck's ceiling is way up there, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of people are just, not looking at Jordan Beck enough because, again, if you look back at Jordan Beck in his college days of Tennessee and that moment to where he just flashed his we'll just say he flashed the middle finger during that home run. That was pretty dope. And the Rockies, they needed that type of guy. So, and they got him. But yeah, I'm excited for this outfield. And again, Benny Montgomery, we already mentioned him. He's probably going to start in Double-A, listed here on Fangraphs. And then one more guy that I think a lot of Rockies fans are excited about in the future is Cole Carrig. He's listed to be a high A player. I think he could be in Double-A. This guy has his tail on fire. This guy, I think. I remember when we drafted him, a lot of people were like, what are the Rockies doing? This guy's out of San Diego State. Hardly a lot of good players come out of there. Connor Joe, I believe, was out of San Diego State, but, of course, his ceiling wasn't super high. But Cole Carrig, though, the dude knows how to get on base. He doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he can hit home runs. He can have, look at his batting average. It's good. On base percentage, good. This dude can steal bases. And he has that dog in him to where he's just you do not want to miss this guy whatsoever in the clubhouse whatsoever. He's got that winning mentality, like a lot of Rockies prospects have said. And I think Cole Carrig is a guy that I'm super excited about, and I think he can make some big strides this year. And I don't know. And this guy and the Rockies, they love versatile players that can play catcher, infield, and outfield, and that's what Cole Carrig does. They have him as an outfielder, but again, he can play shortstop, even according to Fangraphs. He can play center field. He can play almost everywhere. But yeah, dude, like this guy, I'm super pumped for what Cole Carrig could be. We unfortunately won't see that on the big league roster this year. Could we see him later this year, like August or September? 100%, I believe so. I think he has that ability to do so. Tovar made his debut in 2022 after he started the season, I want to say, in either Spokane or Hartford. So it's possible, right? So Cole Carrig, I'll just say he has those tools, man. And I think the Rockies have a bunch of these Swiss Army knives in the minor league system that are at your disposal, to where I feel like a few years ago you just didn't have that. And I feel like over the last few years we've had a lot of better drafts than previous years. So we're excited. So those are my final thoughts before we wrap up tonight. I'd like to hear Adam have his final thoughts, and then of course we'll finish off with Tom with his thoughts.
Well, I think the major league starting outfield for the Rockies this year has a chance to be one of the best in the entire league. If Jordan Beck can reach his potential, if Nolan Jones can stay healthy, if Brenton Doyle can maintain his performance from 2024. There's a lot of ifs, of course, and I think that's the story of the 2025 Rockies. If this happens, if that happens, if Kyle Freeland can turn back the clock to 2018, if Herman Marquez can stay healthy, if Peralta can repeat, all this stuff. If Nolan Jones can stay healthy, if Chris Bryant can stay healthy, if Chris Bryant can stay healthy, that's a game changer for the Rockies, because I think a healthy Chris Bryant is a performing Chris Bryant. Okay. because I think it gets him out of that mindset that, oh man, I'm going to get hurt again, or I don't want to get hurt, or he's just going to kind of play carefree, and we need that from Chris Bryant. But and then I would say at the minor league level, I don't think the Rockies outfield has been in this good a shape maybe ever. So they've done a tremendous job of building this outfield. There's depth across the board at every position, in my opinion. And the Rockies have built themselves quite a system at every position that we're looking at right now. So I think the Rockies are in great shape when it comes to the outfield. And I'm really excited to watch not only these three guys that we've been talking about, but the rest, Bean and Fernandez and Carrig and Montgomery, and see what happens. So some of them might get traded, like Tom talks about all the time. Can't play everybody, but I'm excited for what the Rockies have in this system and on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, two of their top 5 prospects are outfielders, and Bean and Yanka Fernandez, so there's something to be excited about. And, like I said, don't count Benny Montgomery or Sterling Thompson. Don't count him out. And I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, sorry, Cole Keurig. I completely forgot about you. I'm very sorry about that. So please don't hit me for that if you hear my words. But no, I think the Rockies' outfield could be a source of strength. As we know, you got 2, potentially 3 Gold Glove infielders in Toglia, McMahon, and of course one that won one in Tovar. And then you look at the outfield, you got a 2-time winner in Brenton Doyle, who's an elite athlete in terms of athleticism. And then you got 2 really good athletes in Beck and Jones. So, like I said, defensively, this outfield could be a source of strength. Like I said, Hilliard's no slouch. And I think I mentioned this on a previous episode. In Sam Hilliard's career as a pinch hitter, in 36 at-bats as a pinch hitter, he has a 1.102 OPS. So he is quite – and how many home runs is that? That is 5 home runs in 36 pinch hit at-bats. So I think he hit one for – I think it was one – he hit one of them for us last year. So it's a great guy to have on the bench, of course. And then, and like I said, this could be a source of strength for them in terms of not just defensively, but also offensively. Like we said, Doyle is hoping to reach that elite level, and Jones can get back to what he was in 23 and be beyond that. That'd be amazing. And if Jordan Beck can, have a solid productive year, they're in good shape. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes for us in the outfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somebody made a point just recently, and they were talking about the Rockies roster. I forget who it was, but you go back to 2018 Rockies, and people will say, well, the entire roster helped them to get to that point. But really, in fact, it was just a few players in that offense that really carried this team. Nolan, Trevor, and Charlie. Mm-hmm. And the Rockies have those type of guys that maybe won't be on the same level, but that can carry this team. Doyle, Tovar, Jones, even more. Beck, Veen. They have a lot of these guys, like an entire lineup. They're going to have a future lineup of these studs.
Condon,
that's another one. Chase Dolan, I know he's not a position player, but the Rockies have these guys. And then you go to pitching. 2018, you had Kyle Freeland, who was, of course, Cy Young votes that year, 4th, I believe, on that list. Marquez had a good year. He wasn't, superb by any means, but he did have a good second half, as we remember. And the rest of the rotation was, I believe, Chad Bettis, who wasn't super amazing, but he was decent. Sendatello was a rookie. And then you had John Gray, who had a horrible year, if you remember. And yet we were one of the best teams, if not one of the best years in Rockies history. And yet we had a guy that had a 5.6 ERA in John Gray. So you just need a couple of guys to go off in the rotation, a couple of guys in the lineup to go off. And the Rockies won, was it 91, 92 games in 2018? So, the Rockies, they have these guys that can take them to the playoffs. It's just they're young. Let them develop, and they're doing that. And it's going to take time. And a lot of people. And here's the thing. I want to make a very quick comment. Again, we got to head out of here, but John Boy Media, Talking Baseball. I like some of their content, but they put out a graphic just recently saying that they showed a list of the teams that lost and won and whatever for the offseason. And they put the Rockies in the losers category of the offseason, and to which I very much disagree, because it's just like, well, first off, the Rockies are in a position to where they're not competing for the playoffs. If they were, yeah, you could say that they lost the offseason because they didn't really do much to improve the roster if they were in a position to make the playoffs. Where as a rebuilding team, you really can't do much given with the money that you have. And plus, with the roster that they have, it's not a bad roster. It's just that they have to let the younger kids play because that's what a rebuild is.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
don't
about,
need to. They don't need to do any of that.
they don't need to go out and get free agents like we said last week in last week's podcast. They don't need to make a big splash in free agency for a starting pitcher that doesn't want to come here, right?
Actually,
So,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I really it was kind of frustrating just reading some of the comments of people that don't even know some of the Rockies players or don't even look in the Rockies players and say, yeah, the Rockies are going to suck, whatever. They're going to win 40 games. It's just like, come on, whatever. But we're going to drink the purple Kool-Aid a little bit here. But yeah, like I said, again, the Rockies had 91 wins in 2018, and they just had a few guys in that lineup that carried this team. And the Rockies, they have those guys and more that are young and that are already producing. Now we just have to get the right pieces in place, which I think they're coming together. And I think 2025 will be that first year to where we're starting to see improvement, and we're going to start seeing, playoff baseball here soon, the next couple of years, fingers crossed. So again, there's a possibility. Again, I'm not saying that we're going to make the playoffs this year, but I think we're going to see a drastic improvement in terms of just quality baseball on the field. Where last year, of course, the bullpen gave up a lot of games, at the start of the season. But I feel like this team is on a mission to improve, and I think we're going to see that this year. So,
Steven, one other thing before Tom gets his last point in real quick. Let's not forget, and Tom, you could probably remind me, there was a graphic that came out that said that the Rockies had a 0% chance to make the playoffs along with the White Sox. If I'm a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I mean, I'm taking those off. It put $100 on the Rockies at 0%. Like, I don't know what the line is on that, but there's no reality where it has 0% chance to make the playoffs. That's a little bit too far for me. You want to put them at 0.5% or 1%. That's cool, but 0% is crazy. I think the Rockies, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but do they have a chance to make the playoffs? I absolutely believe they do.
Yeah. Nobody saw 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks go to the World Series.
Exactly. Yeah.
And,
so Tom?
There's always a puncher's chance. But to your comment about Yankee fans, any other players on any other team outside of New York. So, except unless they're a well-known guy. I mean, I remember there's a story of this guy I know back when the White Sox had the rebound. I think he said this was in 2017. And that's when Yohan Moncada made his debut for them that year. He went to New York wearing a Moncada jersey, and some guy with a Yankee hat said, "Oh, what team is that?" "Oh, it's the White Sox." "Oh, where are they from?" "Oh, Chicago." "Oh, Chicago has another team?" So that just shows you how ignorant some certain fans in certain markets can be.
East Coast bias. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bias because like I said, some of the major market teams fans don't know any other players outside of their own unless that player is a well-known guy. For example, every Yankee fan is going to know who Shohei Ohtani is, but they're not going to know who Brett Doyle is. So
and to Tom's point too, and I don't want to take shots at fans or anything, but Yankees fans will never know how hard it is to be a fan of a team like the Rockies. So when the Rockies win one day, it'll be so worth it to have put up with all this stuff throughout the year. And I've been mad at them, and I've boycotted them when they traded Nolan and stuff. I've done that. But I've come back home, and I'm a Rockies fan through and through. And it's just people don't understand. Dodgers fans will never understand. Yankees fans will never understand how hard it is to be a Rockies fan and to be overlooked all the time, and to have an owner that doesn't know what he's doing. I think he wants to win. He just doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
So I think just it's a rewarding thing to be a Rockies fan, and it's just we can't relate to the East Coast Yankee fans like that. We just can't do
there's a famous saying about the Yankees and the rich teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers. They can cover up their mistakes by throwing a little bit more money at it. Like for example, with DJ LeMahieu struggles, they can throw a little money at it to help. They can afford to absorb that money and supplement it by other means, whether it's a prospect or it's a cheaper player. It's easier. So, because those two teams and others, and I won't name. We can name off. They, due to the fact they will good for them, they will never have to endure a rebuild. So good for you. Yeah. I mean, the last time I don't think they've ever done a rebuild in their entire franchise. So good for you guys. You don't have to worry about that. But there's unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, some teams can't do what you guys have the ability to do. That's just how it works, unfortunately. So, and you know, we can talk another time about how where it's going to be a ludicrous negotiation where to put a salary cap in place. And I don't think that's going to solve all the problems that with the financial disparities, but that's another podcast. Either way, like if I was a bet man, which I'm not, even if you put $10 down on those odds, why not? I just take the wallet in my pocket, put it down. Why not? I might actually do that, to be honest with you. I'll let you know. I'll put $20 down on the White Sox and the Rockies to win the division, win the division, and maybe go to the World Series.
We might post that.
You'll be retired. You'll be retired.
I'll send you a picture of it. You guys can post it like Tom money down. Yeah, Pep Palpatine. Do it.
Love it. Love it. We support you, man. We love it.
There we go.
I'll let you know if I do it. I'll let you know.
Stay tuned for our Instagram and X pages, folks, because we're gonna have fun this year. Hey, we got our first spring training game tomorrow. Like we said earlier, Rockies and D-backs at 1:10 p.m. Stay tuned for our social medias. We have a couple exciting posts coming out. I think we're gonna post a little bit later on tonight. But yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow. We're gonna give you some game updates. You can listen to the Rockies game at 850 KOA. Unfortunately, I don't think tomorrow's game is televised, if I'm not mistaken, but Saturday's game will be televised at Rockies TV, and you'll be able to watch that for free on your MLB TV app. So that'll be awesome. So if you don't have the MLB app, just go ahead and download it on the Apple store or Google Play Store and check that out. So that'll be awesome. Rockies baseball is back, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for next week's episode. We got Rockies pitchers previews, and then that'll be the last one before we get into our MLB predictions episode, which I'm really stoked about. I've actually already started working on that, so all of us are pretty excited about that. So again, stay tuned for our pages and social media. And Rockies now, we're starting to grow, man, and we're doing well. We're slowly creeping up, and with opening day now on the horizon, we're having a lot of Rockies fans come into the community. We had some new people. I had a couple new followers reach out to me just recently and share their excitement for the team. So it's going to be awesome. So stay tuned for that. We have some baseball to look forward to in the next few weeks as opening day creeps up. So folks, thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Rockies Now podcast. On behalf of myself, Adam, and Tom, thank you for listening to this edition of the episode. And as always, go Rockies.